Hey guys, Nick here. Today we're going to go through a question that I received on one of my Knime videos. Specifically, we're going to be working through how to answer this question here. And here the question was, how do we calculate a moving average? So let's say the sum of the last 7 days, where the data set has missing days in between. So in other words, the data set you can't run a moving average on it right now because it wouldn't be accurate, since it wouldn't account for the date values that are missing in between. So what we're gonna do, which is based off of the answer I provided on YouTube, was we're gonna create an instance of every date available, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our data and we're gonna join it to the set that has every date available. So then from there, we're going to have every date available along with our data where it's available. And then we'll be able to just plug in a value for wherever there's missing data. And then afterwards, we'll be able to run our moving aggregation, which in this case is a moving sum. So we're going to get started. Today, we're going to use this example data set that I have here. That's called point of sale data. And this data is actually from the Knime course I mentioned in my last video that I've been working on putting together. I'm still working on that, so be on the lookout if you're interested in transitioning from Excel to Knime and you want a crash course that's going to help you get your feet wet right away. But anyways, in this data, what we have here is point of sale data by a SKU and date level. And what I did essentially is I rolled it up to a daily level, and then I ran an anti-join to clear out some dates, which gives us our sample data set, which if I zoom in a bit so you guys can see, we'll be able to see our sample data set has some missing dates in it. So our sample data set runs from January 3rd, 2022 through January 31st, 2022. But if you look at the row count, this data set only has 19 rows. So you can see if we take a closer look, you can see that we're actually missing dates in this data set. So it's not continuous right now from the 1st to the 31st. We're missing January 1st, January 2nd, then we're missing the 6th to 7th. Then we've got this huge missing gap right here from the 12th through the 17th of January. And then also the 25th and the 26th are missing. So we're going to use this as our sample data set, where we can't run a moving sum yet because it wouldn't be accurate to say, for example, where we got this big chunk of missing data here, it wouldn't be accurate to say on the 18th, our 7-day moving average is the average of the last 7 values. Really, we need to loop in the missing days and plug zeros for that so we get a true moving average. So anyways, we're going to get started first by going to our node repository, and we're going to search for date, and then I believe it's date ampersand, and we're going to look for create date and time range node right here, and we'll drag and drop onto our workflow. So let's get a bit organized. I'm going to move these nodes down here, the one that has our sample data set. So next we're going to update this node note to say dates for wrong one. Dates for Jan 2022. And then we're going to update this to be font size 13. So we keep organized. So we'll double click into this node. And the way we're going to set this up is we're basically creating a date range for all of January 2022. We don't want it to be date and time. We only want it to be date based because that's what matches. That's what matches our data set that we just looked at. So we're gonna say output the dates in a column called date, and then our mode selection is going to be variable. So we're not going to say give us a fixed amount of days. We could say 31, but we're going to be more dynamic with it. We're going to say give us a variable number of rows, and that the variable rows will be based off of our starting point and our end point. So our starting point will simply be January 2022. That is January 1st, 2022. And then our ending point will be the end of the month. In other words, January 31st, 2022. Then the last thing we need to set up, as you can see in this red text, is we need to provide an interval. What we're going to do here is we're going to say 1D, in other words, 1 day. So intervals of days. So now the way we've got this set up is we're saying create a new column called date, and then within this column, create a variable number of rows that's based off of 1 day intervals, with the starting date being the 1st of January 2022 and the end date being the 31st of January 2022. So now that we got that set up, we can simply hold Control and then hit the OK button. So that way we apply the settings and execute all at once. So when we hold Control, on a Mac it's Command, you can see this OK toggle to say OK execute. So we'll simply click on that. And now you can see our node is in the green executed status. So now we can take a look at our data output. So our data output now, we'll zoom in a little bit. So our data output, you can see, is every day in January. So you can see we've got 31 rows, and we start at the 1st of January 2022 all the way down through the 31st of January 2022. So now if we compare that to our original data set, now we can take our 19 rows of data and essentially left join it to this data set where we've created an instance of every date available within our specified date range, right? So once we do that join, we'll expect to see the dates where we're missing in our primary data table. We'll expect to see those with missing values in this new data table that will be our primary table go forward. So anyways, we're going to join these by running a joiner node. I'm going to run through the joiner node relatively quickly for time's sake, but if you want a more detailed look into how to configure a joiner node, I'll link my video on the joiner node, aka the VLOOKUP, because I do have one on my channel already that you can check out that goes into depth. So we're going to say join to every date instance. Okay, got to update our node note just to stay organized. And we'll double click to configure this. So what we're doing now is we're going to take this new table that has every date instance, and we're going to left join our data that has our units sold to this table, because we want everything that's available here output. That's why I'm running a left join. So we'll click matching rows as well as left unmatched rows. Then after that, we'll specify our joining columns, and we're joining on the date because that's what both tables share in common and how we can join them. And then afterwards, there's this cool option in the latest update. We're going to assign new row keys from within this joiner node. So we'll click on that. It's not really relevant, but I like to run with that option. It's pretty cool to have it. So next, what we're going to do in our column selection tab, we're going to select the columns we want output. So we want the left table, we want all the dates output because that has every instance of every date in our period. And then we'll get rid of the date in the right table because we know we already have a date here, so we don't want it to be redundant, right? So we'll remove that. So that way we're only running with the units sold from the right table. All right, so we're good to go. Our node is fully configured now. So all we have to do is hold command and then, or control/command, and then hit the OK button. So we apply the settings and execute the node all at once, like so. And now you can see our data table, or excuse me, our joiner node is in the green configured status, or executed status. So we'll simply click on join results. And now we can zoom in so it's a little bit easier to see. But what you can see off the get is that We've got 31 rows here, so we know we've got all 31 days. And then we've got data available in some dates and missing values in others. So then if we sort this table, sort ascending, now we can see the data or the days specifically that we're missing. So what we'll do is, just like we did in this data table, we're now going to take a sorter node. So search for sorter in the node repository, connect that. And then after that, we're going to join a missing value. So we'll connect that. And then finally, we'll do a moving aggregation. All right, so we're setting this up rather quickly. We'll update this node to say sort date ASC for ascending. Then here we'll say missing as 0. So any missing value will get plugged with the 0. And then afterwards, we're going to say moving sum. So we're staying organized. What we're going to do now is, real quick, we're going to say in this sorter node, we're going to sort by the date ascending. So we're good to go there. Then in the missing value, we're going to say for any number double, fix the value to a 0. So we're good to go there. You do have the option to extrapolate a value any other way you want, but for our intents and purposes, if you don't have a date with sales available, then you sold 0. So we're going to run with 0. So we'll hold control, hit OK, that executes. And then the last step is to now take our units sold, and let's say we want the sum. So we'll select sum. We'll keep the original name for the column naming convention. And we're going to say we want a backwards window of 7 days. So then we're good to go there. We'll hold control, execute. Oh, keep original name options only valid if aggregation columns are filtered. Okay, aggregation columns are filtered. So where is that? Oh, remove aggregation columns. No, actually, let's keep it there. And then we could hit this option right here, and that'll get rid of our error. But actually, let's keep our actual units sold by day. And then we'll say this is our moving average of the sum of the units sold. So now we can hit apply, hit OK, and we can right click and execute. And now we've got our data set finalized. And actually, if I look at it already, I don't like this. Or no, never mind. I misspoke. I thought that it was out of order again, but it looks like it's good. I'll show you what we've got going on. So now we've got from January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, so on and so forth, all the way through the 31st. So now we've got our units sold, and then finally, after the 6th day, now we can calculate a 7-day moving average. So that's why now the moving average starts to populate. And you can see here where we've got 0 sales for this time period. Now our moving average is accurate, right? Because previously, if we didn't plug in or bridge the missing days we were missing, then we would be averaging 717 plus these 6 rows behind it, which is not fully accurate, right? So this is how you solve that problem of filling in for missing dates. Excuse me, sorry, swapped out the wrong window. Filling in for missing dates when running a moving aggregation. If you guys have any questions, drop it in the comments. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm still working on my crash course. I had to do a lot of re-recording because as a rookie, first time putting together a course, I messed up on my audio real bad. So I apologize for the delay, but that will be out soon. I'm hoping within the next month and a half. So keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, like you guys know, hit the like button, share this with anybody that might need help learning Knime, and drop a comment for whatever type of videos you want to see next. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys on the next one.